Why do you feel poorer the moment your salary hits your account? Most view salary as a reward. The elite view it as raw capital for future sovereignty. Stop the bleed. $5 coffees and $15 lunches are draining $10,000 from your future every year. This is a tactical manual for the 2026 landscape of hyperinflation and AI displacement. In this video, we provide the 25% baseline audit to stop financial decay, the liquidity shield for absolute exit power, and the automated engine to decouple your time from income. By the end of this video, you will possess the high-performance operating system to cross the first 100K threshold and turn your paycheck into a weapon of freedom. Before we dismantle your consumer mindset, how old are you and what city are you fighting to survive in? Drop it in the comments below to synchronize with the community. Phase 1. The financial baseline and the 25% rule. Most financial gurus tell you to track your spending. That is amateur advice. The elite do not just track, they audit. We must differentiate between your operating expenses and your lifestyle inflation. Imagine your financial life as a high-performance engine. Your needs are the fuel and oil required to keep the machine running. Your wants are the premium aesthetics that make the car look good but add 0 horsepower. In the modern era, the average person has allowed their standard of living to drift into a zone of terminal inefficiency. They view high-speed internet, premium streaming, and dining out as necessities. They are wrong. A necessity is a cost required for biological survival or the generation of further income, rent, insurance, and basic utilities. Everything else is a choice. I want you to visualize an economic mirror. Look at your last 6 months of transactions. Do not do this with a pen and paper like a student in the 1990s. Use your banking app's export function and look at the cold, hard data. We are looking for your financial baseline. This is the absolute floor. If your rent, bills, and essential utilities total $1,200, that is your survival cost. The average person spends 50 to 60% of their income here. They call it the cost of living. I call it a prison sentence. To join the elite, you must aim for a baseline of 25%. If you earn $5,000, you should be able to survive on $1,250. If that sounds impossible, it is because you have fallen for the trap of lifestyle creep. You are living in a zip code you haven't earned, or driving a vehicle that is essentially a high-interest anchor tied to your neck. You have 2 levers to fix this: the efficiency lever or the income lever. You can move to a location that optimizes for cost-to-income ratio, or you can scale your value to the marketplace. Your earning potential is theoretically infinite, whereas your saving potential is capped at 0. However, you cannot out-earn a lack of discipline. If you find yourself defending your expenses, ask yourself, am I defending my comfort or am I defending my future? Phase 2. The liquidity shield and the 4% fortress. Once you have identified your baseline, we move to the liquidity shield. Most people call this an emergency fund. That is a reactive term. The elite call it a sovereignty fund. 1 in 5 people in the modern economy has 0 cushion. They are 1 car breakdown or 1 corporate downsizing away from total insolvency. When an emergency strikes, they are forced to beg the bank for a high-interest loan, effectively selling their future labor at a massive discount just to survive the present. You must allocate 20% of every paycheck into a high-yield liquidity account. In 2026, the benchmark for this is 4% APY, anything less, and you are allowing the central banks to devalue your labor through the hidden tax of inflation. This account must be psychologically and physically decoupled from your daily spending. Use a separate institution entirely. This is not money to be spent. This is a unit of safety. Your target is 3 to 6 months of your financial baseline. If your baseline is $1,200, your shield must be at least $7,200. This is not an investment. Its purpose is not to make you rich. Its purpose is to keep you from becoming poor. There is a profound psychological shift that occurs when you have 6 months of survival cash in a vault. You stand taller. You speak with more authority. You have the exit power to walk away from a toxic boss or a bad business deal. That is the true return on investment of a liquidity shield. It is the price of your self-respect. Phase 3. Exorcising the wealth parasite. Now we address the most significant barrier to wealth: high-interest debt. In the world of finance, if someone guarantees you a 25% return, they are usually lying, unless that person is your credit card company charging you 25% interest. By paying off that debt, you are effectively earning a guaranteed tax-free 25% return on your capital. Debt is a parasite. It is a tick that burrows into your financial bloodstream and sucks out the nutrients before they can reach your muscles. You cannot build a skyscraper on a foundation of quicksand. Let us look at two tactical approaches to killing this parasite: the avalanche and the snowball. This is the battle between logic and dopamine. Imagine you have three debts. Debt A is a $5,000 credit card balance at 20%. Debt B is a $1,500 interest-free loan from a family member. Debt C is a $2,500 car loan at 15%. The avalanche method is the choice of the cold, calculating strategist. You ignore the balance and attack the interest rate. You pour every spare dollar, let us say $500 a month, into Debt A. By killing the 20% rate first, you are debt-free in 21 months and pay only $613 in interest. The snowball method is for those who need a psychological win. You attack the smallest balance first, Debt B, to get a hit of dopamine. While this feels good, it is mathematically inferior. It would take you 23 months and cost you $1,700 in interest. The elite do not prioritize feelings over mathematics. They choose the avalanche. They understand that every dollar paid in interest is a dollar that could have been working for them in the markets. Stop and look at your current liabilities. Do you truly own your life, or are you merely a tenant in a world owned by the banks? If you are committed to becoming the master of your own time rather than a servant to a credit limit, comment "I am the master" below. Phase 4. The engine of modern capitalism. Once your debt is dead and your shield is raised, you have earned the right to enter the arena of wealth creation. This is where we move 50% of your remaining paycheck into tax-advantaged compounding machines. The average person pays income tax, sales tax, property tax, and finally, capital gains tax. They are being taxed at every intersection of their life. The elite utilize legal structures to bypass the final gate. In the US, this is the Roth IRA. In the UK, it is the Stocks and Shares ISA. These are not just accounts, they are tax-free vaults. If you invest $300 a month into an index fund representing the S&P 500, the 500 most powerful engines of American capitalism, you are betting on human ingenuity. Historically, this has returned 8 to 10% annually. Over 45 years, that $300 a month turns into over $1.3 million, tax-free. The secret to this phase is the removal of the human element. Humans are emotional, fearful, and prone to bad timing. You must automate the process. Set up an auto-invest pie that pulls the capital from your account before you even have the chance to think about spending it. Think of this as your autopilot millionaire strategy. While you are sleeping, working, or traveling, the most profitable companies in the world are working for you. They are innovating, scaling, and generating dividends that are automatically reinvested into more shares. This is the glass elevator of wealth. It is not fast, but it is inevitable. The only way to fail is to get off the elevator before it reaches the top floor. Most people spend their whole lives suppressing their true desires because they cannot afford them. If money were no longer a factor, if your compounding engine was already covering all your costs, what is the one luxury or experience you would pursue, not for the status but for your soul? Share that vision in the comments. Let us see what we are really building for. Phase 5. Asymmetric warfare and high-octane growth. If Phase 4 is the insurance policy that ensures you will be wealthy eventually, Phase 5 is the accelerator that ensures you will be wealthy soon. This is where you allocate the final 5 to 10% of your paycheck. This is risk capital. This is not money you need for rent or for your retirement. This is money you are willing to lose in exchange for the possibility of a 10,000% return. First, invest in yourself. Allocate 5% to starting a side hustle or a digital business. In 2026, the cost of starting a business is near zero thanks to AI and global distribution. What you lack is not capital, but creativity. When you have a small budget, you are forced to be innovative. You find the gaps in the market that the slow, bloated corporations cannot see. The final 5% goes into the most volatile, high-potential assets, cryptocurrency. Specifically, the blue chips like Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin is the first digital, borderless, and provably scarce monetary system in history. It is an asymmetric bet. The downside is that it could go to zero. The upside is that it could become the global reserve asset of the digital age. The elite do not ignore this. They hedge against the legacy system by holding a small, controlled position. If it fails, you lost 5% of your paycheck. If it succeeds, that 5% could eventually eclipse the value of your entire traditional portfolio. That is asymmetric warfare. The wrap-up. Wealth is an identity. Wealth is not a number in a bank account. It is a set of behaviors. It is the discipline to delay gratification in an age of instant dopamine. Most people will watch this video, feel a temporary surge of inspiration, and then go buy a $20 lunch tomorrow. They are the average. They are the victims of the system. You are watching this because you refuse to be average. You understand that your paycheck is a weapon, and every time you spend it on a want, you are disarming yourself. The hard truth of the first 100,000. As for those of you still watching, here is the secret the gurus won't tell you. The first $100,000 is a nightmare. It is the hardest money you will ever make. You have to grind, sacrifice, and say no to every social invitation. But once you cross that six-figure threshold, the math changes. At a 10% return, that $100,000 earns $10,000 a year without you lifting a finger. That is nearly $1,000 a month of free money. The machine starts to feed itself. Your only job is to get to that first 100,000 as fast as humanly possible. If you have stayed until the end, you are part of the 1% who actually finishes what they start. Comment the words, "I am awake," to let the community know you have seen the blueprint and are ready to execute. If this analysis provided you with a higher level of clarity than the standard financial noise, like the video and subscribe. We do not deal in hope, we deal in systems. Share this with one person who is currently trapped in the cycle of paycheck to paycheck poverty. You might just be the catalyst for their freedom. The journey to sovereignty does not happen in a day, but it does happen daily. You have the routine, you have the numbers. Now, you need the mindset. Click the video on the screen right now to understand why your net worth explodes after the first 100K. I will see you there.